Welcome to the elective history class debate. I am Brendan from class 3A4 and I will be the chairperson for this debate. The timekeeper will be Elvina from class 3A4. The motion for this debate is this house believes that Nazi rule was ultimately beneficial for Germany. For the proposition, we have Vignesh, John, Zachary, and Mingzi. For the opposition, we have Kian, Sean, Arnav, and Jaden. Our agitators today are Mr. Seow.
Some house rules. Please switch your mobile phone off or to silent mode. Do not take photographs or videos without permission. This session will be recorded. Please do not clap or cheer in the middle of a speech. You may tap your table lightly to support an argument or point. You may only clap at the end of each speech. Each speaker will speak for 5 minutes. They will be scored for substance and style. The bell will ring once when 1 minute is remaining. Right? Twice when the time is up. Speakers should then wrap up their speech. Points of information are permitted for this debate between the first and fourth minute of the speech.
Without further ado, I call upon the first speaker of proposition, Vignesh, to deliver his speech.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, today of the debate. I'm Vignesh of the proposition, and I'd like to bring up my point that the Nazi government was ultimately beneficial to the German people. And here, to represent my argument, I have 3 points to make. 1, the Nazi government solved issues that the Weimar coalition governments could not solve. Let me remind you, the Weimar government were multiple coalition governments over the span of 20 years. There were 24 different coalition governments of the Weimar Republic, and none of them could solve a single issue brought upon by Germany, such as financial debt and issues of poverty, hunger, and homelessness faced by the German people in the early 1920s and 30s. And also, the Nazi government provided multiple benefits to the German people through strength, through joy, such as increased bonuses, better working conditions, as well as different... An example of such is the construction of the Autobahn, which brought the German people closer together. A family living 100 kilometers away in the north could visit their brother or their uncle in the south easily through the Autobahn. And might I just add, the Nazi government promised and did deliver. Okay.
The golden age was not led by the Nazis. It was led by the very Weimar coalition governments that you have just criticized.
Okay. But might I just add, right after that, the Great Depression happened. And what happened? Could you tell me what happened? That's what I thought. Okay, let me continue. So, the Nazi government was great. They provided better working conditions for the people. They solved monetary issues the Weimar government could not solve, brought on to Germany by the Treaty of Versailles, which, let I just say, caused a lot of misery for the German people. And, might I just add, the Nazi government provided the one backbone of the German people today, their pride. Every single Weimar government had an issue which every few months had an election which could not be solved, such as their monetary issues. I'm just reverting back to my points. So, let me just add, the German people are very arrogant, full of pride people. And if every few months, they're voting for a new government that could not stand for what they believed, can you tell me how the Nazis survived? They did. For 11 years, from 1933 to 1945. So it's 12 years, my bad. I'm very bad at math. So, they provided the one thing the German people need, a sense of courage, a sense of courage, pride, and to tell the rest of the world, hey, I'm proud to be a German, and this government is proving that I have the right to be proud as a German person, sorry. And my second point and my third point, which we spearheaded by John and Mingze. Well, the point that John will bring up is how the Nazis resolved economic issues brought through by the Great Depression and financial burden that they faced from the Treaty of Versailles, which the Weimar government could not solve. And my final speaker, Mingze, will talk about how different groups of people in Germany supported the Nazis, from women to youth. Basically, everyone important in Germany, the workers, the women, the youth. Something the Weimar government did not have. Yes. So, that will mark the end of my speech. Timekeeper, how much do I have left?
28.
20 seconds?
28.
20 seconds. The Nazis were great, and I have my whole proposition to tell you why. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Team Proposition. I now call upon the first speaker of opposition, Sean, to deliver his speech.
Hi, I am Sean. Hi. Hi, I am Sean and I am the first speaker of the opposition. And I'm going to talk about the atrocities that Nazi Germany caused and negatively impacted Germany. Our second speaker, Keen, will be talking about the economic and day-to-day life of Germans. And our last speaker, Arnav, will talk about the social impacts and summarize our arguments. I shall start with my point. Nazi rule was not beneficial as it started a war that killed millions of German soldiers and civilians, devastated Germany through Soviet pillaging and Allied bombings. The Allied bombings not only affected the people, but affected the German land as it was bombed by Allies, and ruined Germany's credibility internationally for 40 years over the war. Over the years, sorry. More than 4 million German civilians and soldiers died. They started a war that they used their own people to fight, and their own people was like people who were just trained and set out without any knowledge of how war should be. So they were forcing out and churning out random youth and putting them out to die, and also using
Point. Yeah. You have evidence that the Germans specifically used youth to fight their wars. And if so, say how. And you must prove. I
Can you repeat what you said?
Do you have specific evidence that the Nazi government specifically shipped out youth of the Hitler youth to fight in the Second World War? Because from our contextual knowledge, they sent out trained military soldiers to defend their beliefs in conquering Europe, in global domination. It's just one question.
I have no evidence against that. Yeah. With that, I guess with that I should end my speech. Yeah. Bye bye.
So hello, today I will now be talking about how Hitler has benefited Germany based on what my previous speaker, Vignesh, has stated. So firstly, we talk about how Hitler has fixed the coalition government from Weimar Germany. Hitler fixed the failing Weimar Germany. He actually made long-lasting policies such as the Autobahn. For instance, in 1936, Germany had 1 million kilometers of expressway. In 1937, 2 million kilometers of expressway, and in 1938, 3 million kilometers of expressway. He had also recovered the pride of the Germans. For instance, the coalition government in Weimar Germany could not fix the lost land that was taken, such as the Rhineland. However, the Nazi rule actually managed to bring back the pride, taking back the land, improving the army, and showing everyone that Germany has a strong army. Hitler also got Germany out of the Treaty of Versailles, something I don't think the government of Weimar Germany could have done. Another point I would like to say out. Honestly, we can't really deny that Hitler was a bad leader. I mean, he was a good leader. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Continue.
Another point I would like to state is how Hitler has solved the Great Depression. For instance, he actually decreased the unemployment rates. He helped people get their jobs and helped the shit, I need to check my thing. Conscription of Germany in 1935, for instance. He gave many people jobs, just like how when I talked about the coalition government about the autobahns, he gave many people jobs, decreasing the rate of unemployment. Yeah, okay. I don't really know what to say. I would like to ask the other opposition group: did the countries actually have the rights to create their own policies? The Jews that went through the Holocaust could have went to another country before the event. However, they did not. Yeah, actually, I would like to end my speech there as a final thing. Yeah, I know. So I would like to end my speech if it's possible.
My name is Keen. I am here to talk about how Nazi Germany devastated the German people even more than just the war, by giving them a poor lifestyle. Their everyday life was ruined by the Nazis only giving good, hard-working German men menial labor. Imagine waking up and only going to work in coal mines and building roads. You weren't doing anything actually worth with your life. You were just doing manual labor for a government who cared nothing about you. And even at your workplace, the people who were in charge of you, they didn't care who you are. You only had to do your work. You had to do your work, and you couldn't say anything about it. You had no rights to say how poor your conditions at your workplace were. You could be having the worst conditions ever, and you couldn't say a thing. You also paid barely anything, nothing, paid very poorly, and you had no way to advance up in the social economic ladder of Germany. Even then, even if you aren't working menial labor, building roads on coal mines, you are working in factories and not building things to actually help the German people. You are building things to kill other people, to invade other countries, weapons of war, not to actually improve the lives of Germans, but to disprove and to make the life of other people elsewhere a living hell, rather than actually being productive. Any questions from the proposition?
I have too many points to make. You say that the Nazi government did not improve the standard of living, gave people.
When did I say the Nazi?
No, you did. And might I just add, the Nazi government gave people damn jobs to do. They gave them pay, better pay. Then what is the question? You say. Calm down.
Calm down, buddy. Calm down.
You say that the Nazis decreased, it can't increase the social ladder, right? Can't go up the social ladder. What about strength through joy? About the millions of bonuses they give the Nazi people? He give them people leave. Okay, your question is what about strength through joy? Yeah.
My counter to that, Vic, my counter to that, Vic, is that even though they may have given bonuses were not a way to improve your social standing. You even your social standing in the German world. You're bonus.
Just stop speaking to the mic. Just talk in the mic. Like, there's a mic at the back. Just talk because we're the camera.
Bonuses would not actually help you improve your social standing. Maybe economically, maybe you get a bit more pay. But your social standing, you would still be the same peasant, the same regular man. You couldn't actually improve where you were in society. And to counter your point about, what's your second one?
No second one. Yeah, continue your argument. Then I'll take it to the continue.
And even then, if they may have given people jobs. However, these jobs, were they worth doing? You could have studied years at a university to be a banker, a lawyer, an accountant. And now you're working the roads, working in coal mines, working in factories. How does that count as a job worth doing?
Your moment over already. I'm sorry.
No, time over. 1 minute left.
Calm down, please.
I would now like to pass. In conclusion, the Germans may have given people jobs. However, the jobs of these, the quality of these jobs and the abilities of the people doing the jobs far out. Oh. Sorry, I want to look my prey in the eye when I kill them. The quality of these jobs and the reason and the abilities of the people doing these jobs were far different. You could have well-educated men and women working horribly menial jobs. And in conclusion, I would just like to end my speech here and pass it to the proposition.
Thank you.
The point I'll be making is there are several groups who supported Nazis and Hitler's rule, such as the youth and women. Groups such as the Hitler Youth made by Hitler were helping their youth progress in their education and also help them learn more about the country's history. Like this.
Yeah, thank you.
Groups such as the Hitler Youth benefited the youth and helped them learn more about the country's history and also progress their education. These groups and education forms also helped out to progress the education of youth in Germany and overall help the education system of Germany be improved. My second point is, women of Germany were given many benefits compared to their other The women of Germany had many great benefits, such as Hitler gave them medals of honor for making more babies. So this would benefit the German population, their families, and also be creating a positive household environment. While the husbands go to work and die for the country, the woman can sit at home and make babies all day. And they get paid for it, and they get pride and medals of honor to support their country. I don't know if I were you, but if I were you, I would sit at home and make babies all day. I wouldn't mind that, okay? And also, even better, if you manage to make 10 babies for your family, Hitler will be your godfather. You can be flexing to your friends, hey, I have more babies than you. I get more pride for my country. This ultimately benefited Germany by helping to repopulate Germany and also by creating their economy.
Anything else, bro?
That's it. Thank you.
Wait.
No, so okay, yeah. What you want to say? What you want to say? What you want to say? What you want to say?
What were they actually taught Hitler Youth? Did the kids in Hitler Youth actually learn something useful for the rest of them that will be used in the rest of their life?
The question is, what useful thing did the kids learn in Hitler Youth?
They were taught to be more tough, so they had to learn how to fight wars and have military-style training. This improved their toughness and helped them be more, and helped them be a more beneficial citizen. And ultimately, they had fun.
How's that useful to life?
Having fun is very important in life. Okay. Done. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, team. Thank you, team.
Hello there. If you think I'm gonna talk about babies, that is wrong. I am here today to talk about how the social impact was very unbeneficial to Nazi rule. So, in Germany, the German people were given little to say in the Reichstag being appointed rather than elected. To further make things worse, minorities such as Jews, Romani, and homosexuals were very discriminated. My bad. They were discriminated by the Nazis and were sent to work in concentration camps. With these conditions made specifically to break them mentally and physically to the point where some of them died. Yeah. So now I will share a story about Hans and Sophie. So Hans and Sophie were minorities in Germany that were part of opposition against the Nazis. So when you oppose the Nazis, you will be confronted by secret police. And these police, when they caught you opposing the Nazis, they will behead you and execute you. That is what happened to Hans and Sophie. One sad day, they got caught and their heads got cut off. So, yeah, what? Executed what? So, to summarize what my colleagues previously said, the Nazis were bad for the German people as the German people have little purpose in their daily lives and cause mass devastation by starting the Second War. And now I should tell you why our opposition wins.
Point. One question. Okay. You see.
Can I reject that? Yes. Okay, bye bye. Hey, sit your ass down, bro. I rejected you. Get down. Hey, get down.
He has rejected your point, Vignesh. Sit down.
Get down.
Vignesh, he has rejected your point. Sit down.
So, one reason why the opposition won against the proposition is because wait, I'm trying to read. Our opposition beats the proposition because of the unneeded suffering brought upon by the Nazi rule, politically, economically, and socially. Thank you. You may knock your tables now.
Generally, this debate had 3 dimensions, but I think these dimensions were very unclear. The first dimension was a political dimension. On side proposition, they told me Nazis were helpful because the Nazis built the pride of the Germans by destroying the Treaty of Versailles. However, the speakers did not explain why the Treaty of Versailles was something that damaged German pride to start with. And this argument only emerged in the second proposition speaker. So it wasn't dealt with on opposition. The second political argument that I heard was that the Nazis fixed a dysfunctional political situation. And here the first speaker cited an example incorrectly, that there were 20 governments in 14 years. But the speaker did not extend the argument to prove that this demonstrated that a messy government could not be decisive in fixing problems such as the Great Depression. So the arguments emerged, but the impacts were not stated. On opposition, the key political argument came up straight in the first speaker that Nazis started the Second World War. While intuitively wars are bad, I did not hear either A, how the Nazis started that war, or B, what was the negative impact of that war on Germans themselves. And if a compelling story or data was adduced to demonstrate the negative impact of that war, and proof was shown that Nazis indeed started that war, I think the political impact will be much clearer. On the economic dimension, this clash came out in the second opposition speaker, but wasn't engaged with proposition. The key argument for economic benefits tilted towards the Autobahn. Somehow the idea that once you have roads, your life becomes infinitely better was constantly promulgated by the proposition, which was a bit unclear as opposed to a second argument about the jobs that were created. I think the jobs that were created was a much more powerful argument that came up only second proposition speaker that could have been pushed up much earlier in terms of how jobs create money, create a sense of security, and puts food on the table, and those are net positives. So those extensions weren't fleshed out. And for side opposition, the key anti-economic argument was the idea that you had work, yes, but it was a lousy job. Generally, because there was no engagement on this question of economics, I was more persuaded that having a job was better than not having a job at all, whether or not that job was a lousy job. But again, because the argument was not engaged on either side, there was a rebuttal through POI that even though the job was lousy, you got side benefits like strength through joy, and I accepted that point. On the social impact, I think this was the weakest dimension because both teams frazzled their own arguments and shot themselves in the foot. The proposition decided that a positive social impact was that women were confined at home and making babies. I wasn't convinced. They were convinced that a positive social impact was youth being forced to do military regiment. I wasn't convinced that was positive either. So the proposition's third speaker seemed to be arguing an opposition argument. Whereas the opposition third speaker had the most powerful argument in the whole debate, which is about the targeting of Jews. However, the example he cited wasn't a Jew. It was some random German person, which did not come out clearly. And besides saying briefly that they went to concentration camps, it was unclear what that negative impact was. So the social dimension was a wash, and the political and economic dimensions could have been strengthened. But in general, after all that feedback, I'm very impressed by the level of preparation and engagement and speaking that both teams have demonstrated. And this debate was decided through a 6-1 vote by your classmates. Okay, so the results, no, of course not. The results will be announced by your chairpersons. Okay, can we first clap for everyone for doing a good job?
Wait, Joe, who was it again? Joe, adjudicators have determined.
The
Adjudicators.
adjudicators have determined that the best speaker is, drumroll please, Jonathan! Yeah.
Joe will explain. Joe will explain. It's actually very reasonable.
I move on to
The winning team.
and the winning team is, drumroll, proposition! Whoa!
Anyway, so congratulations. Let us thank the teachers. More importantly, Mr. Seow for making this so professional. And Mr. Omar, making this very professional. Woo!